Welcome to our deep dive today.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into Gulf Keystone Petroleum,
GKP.
or GKP, yeah.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at some share chat from London Southeast.
Share chat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Interesting stuff.
We're getting right into the minds of investors.
Investor psychology.
Yeah,
That's
fascinating, right?
Yeah.
So you've provided us with 2 days worth of excerpts,
Okay.
and there's a lot to unpack, let me tell you.
Lots to unpack. Yes.
So our mission today is going to be
Hit me.
to figure out what are the key themes,
Okay.
the discussions that are happening around GKP,
All right.
especially around some of the more recent developments, like
Recent
the
development.
potential export changes and then their buyback strategy.
The buybacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then we're also going to be looking at some of the more interesting comments and perspectives.
Individual comments.
Yeah, from some of the users.
Always my favorite.
Yeah, right. So one of the hottest topics we saw was what one user, Starsaline, called the $16 a barrel question.
The big one.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah.
So they were asking about what will happen if the Iraqi government goes ahead with this proposal to pay the KRG $16 a barrel.
The Kurdistan regional government.
Kurdistan Regional Government, yeah, to cover oil production and transportation costs.
Okay.
So this sparked a huge debate about whether this fixed rate would be better or worse for GKP
Interesting.
than their current production sharing contract.
The PSE.
Yeah, so can you actually explain for our listener what a PSC is?
Oh, yeah. PSC, a production sharing contract.
Yeah.
This is an agreement that's very common in the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
And basically, instead of the government taking like a fixed amount per barrel, they take a share of the profit
Oh, I see.
after all the production costs have been recovered.
Interesting.
So the more oil that's produced and the lower the costs are, the more everyone makes everyone wins.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So under the proposed fixed rate system, GKP would get a consistent $16 a barrel regardless of the production costs, right?
Correct.
That seems simpler.
Yeah, simpler.
At first glance?
Yeah, maybe on the surface.
Yeah.
But another user, Broadfoot Bay,
Okay.
argued that this simplicity might come at a cost.
Uh-oh.
They pointed out that the fixed rate could actually slow down the rate of CapEx return for GKP.
Now that sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It does.
You would think a guaranteed payment would be a good thing.
It sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But CapEx refers to the money that GKP invests in, things like
Okay.
drilling new wells, building infrastructure, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Under a PSC, they recover these costs from their share of the profits.
I see.
But if they're getting a fixed $16 a barrel,
Yeah.
that speed at which they recover those investments might be a lot slower, and that could have an impact on their profitability.
I see. So Starsaline dug a little deeper
Okay.
and was asking about these potential differences in cost recovery speed between these Iraqi contracts and GKP's existing PSC.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's not a lot of clarity there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff isn't really public.
Right.
Broadfoot Bay even said they were speculating these are experienced users.
Yeah.
But, you know, a key difference might lie in that rate of CapEx return, which, as you said,
It all comes back to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about the bottom line.
So this feels like everyone's trying to put together a puzzle,
Yeah,
but some of the pieces are missing.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
I mean, this lack of information just leads to more speculation and uncertainty.
Right. Which leads us to our next topic,
Okay,
which is all about speculation.
hit me.
GKP's share buyback program.
Yes, the buybacks.
So we saw Rock the Gamer wondering why GKP isn't buying back more shares.
Right.
Especially since the share price is widely considered to be undervalued.
Yeah, they're cheap right now.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then Swell2316 points out that there's a lack of official updates
Interesting.
on the buybacks, which is fueling rumors of
Right.
potential mergers and acquisitions.
I'm like, GKP's silence is creating a vacuum,
Yeah.
and that vacuum's getting filled with speculation.
Right. So you've got some people that are hopeful, right?
Oh, yeah.
They see the buybacks as a sign of confidence.
Right.
And then you've got some people that are a little bit frustrated,
Yeah.
feeling like maybe the company's missing an opportunity here.
Yeah, they think that the company could do more to increase shareholder value.
Right, right.
Yeah. And then we've got Stray Cat, who seems completely bewildered
Oh, Stray Cat.
by the whole thing.
Yeah, well, buyback programs can be complex.
Yeah.
And without that communication from the company, it's easy to get lost.
So what does that lack of clarity
Yeah.
around the buyback strategy tell us about GKP?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah. Could be a deliberate tactic, keeping their cards close to their chest.
Right.
Maybe a sign of indecision. Who knows?
Okay.
But it's definitely creating anxiety for investors.
Yeah, they want more information.
They want to know what's going on.
This leads to a much bigger question, though, right?
Hit me.
What is GKP's overall strategy?
Yes.
And does their current buyback program align with that strategy?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't think the Chair Chat can really answer that for us.
Yeah, we're going to have to look at other sources to try to piece together that puzzle.
Absolutely.
So it seems like investors are reading between the lines here.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out what GKP's next move is going to be.
Trying to interpret every move, every signal.
Yeah.
That's the nature of investing.
Yeah, especially in a sector like oil and gas,
Right.
which is so sensitive to what's happening in the world.
It's a global market.
Yeah, excellent.
Sensitive to global events.
Yeah, and speaking of global events...
Things take a bit of a turn here when the conversation shifts to geopolitical concerns.
Geopolitics, yeah.
Yeah. So Swell 2316 brought up a really valid concern.
Okay.
The potential impact of the incoming Trump administration on the region.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Huge implication.
The already volatile geopolitical landscape.
Exactly, yeah.
And they actually predicted that things could get very hot
Very hot. Wow.
in the new year
Yeah.
because of these heightened tensions with Iran.
Interesting.
So how do we connect these geopolitical concerns
Okay.
to the potential impact on GKP's operations?
Well, we need to consider the potential for oil supply disruptions.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Strait of Hormuz,
Yeah.
which is a very critical choke point
Okay.
for global oil shipments. It runs right by Iran.
I see.
Any conflict in that area could disrupt oil flow big time.
So it's not just about the internal politics of Iraq. We've got to consider the broader regional dynamics.
Absolutely.
You got it.
That adds another layer
A dive.
of complexity.
Yeah.
So it makes you realize that investing in GKP is not for the faint of heart.
No.
You're essentially betting on the stability of an entire region.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You're betting on the region, yeah.
On top of the company's financial performance,
A lot of moving parts.
but amidst all this talk
Uh-huh.
about buybacks,
Yeah.
geopolitical risks,
Right.
and all these complex contracts,
Now this serious stuff.
we see some hilarious moments in the share chat.
Oh, always good.
Yeah, these little moments of comic relief
Yeah.
that remind us there's actual people behind these usernames.
Real people, yeah.
So one that really stood out to me was from a user named Unwin.
Oh, Unwin. Yeah.
They called somebody on the forum a human contraceptive.
Oh, wow. That's harsh.
I know.
Yeah.
And then there's Stray Cat,
Oh, stray cat.
who responded to a question about GKP's buyback strategy with a story about how they think their partner secretly hates them. Yeah, completely unrelated,
Wow.
but it was really funny.
Oh, stray cat.
It makes the whole experience
Yeah.
a little bit more relatable.
It does.
So before we move on,
Got
can
it.
we quickly recap some of the key takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
First, we saw how a seemingly simple proposal like the $16 a barrel payment to the KRG
Uh-huh.
can spark this complex debate
Right.
about these different contract
Your
structures.
structures, yeah.
And we saw how the lack of clarity around GKP's buyback strategy is fueling speculation and anxiety.
Yeah, people want answers.
And finally, we highlighted how important it is to consider the geopolitical landscape. Regional instability
Yeah.
to disrupt oil production and exports.
Right.
So stay tuned for part 2,
I'm ready.
where we're going to delve deeper into these complexities
Okay.
and explore what they mean for GKP's future.
Sounds good.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the GKP share chat. Before we move on, I think it's worth spending a little more time on this idea of geopolitical risk,
Okay.
because I know a lot of investors might be wondering, how does something like
Yeah.
escalating tensions with Iran
Right.
actually impact GKP's bottom line?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Remember, GKP operates in the Kurdistan region of Iraq.
Right.
And while it's a good distance from Iran, the whole region is interconnected.
Yeah.
As Swelled 2316 pointed out, any conflict could disrupt oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz,
Right.
which is that critical choke point for oil shipments.
And even if there isn't a full-blown conflict,
Right.
wouldn't the mere threat of instability be enough to make investors nervous?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uncertainty is the enemy of investment.
Right.
If companies and investors perceive the region as becoming more dangerous,
Yeah.
they might hold back on investment.
Right.
And that could hurt GKP's growth prospects.
So even if GKP isn't directly affected by conflict, the perception of risk could still have a negative impact.
Exactly. It's all about perception.
Yeah.
And it creates a dilemma for investors.
Okay.
Because on the one hand, if oil prices spike due to instability,
Yeah.
that could actually benefit GKP in the short term.
Right.
But if the region becomes too volatile,
Yeah.
that makes it very difficult to operate
Sure.
safely, efficiently.
Yeah.
And that could hurt long-term profitability.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
You've got to weigh those potential rewards
Uh-huh.
against those very real risks.
You got it.
And this is where I think these deep dives can be so valuable, right?
I think so, too. You
Yeah.
know, we can analyze the chatter.
Yeah.
Get a better sense of how investors are feeling about these risks.
Right.
And how they're factoring that into their decisions.
Okay, I want to circle back to the $16 a barrel question.
Okay.
Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around why there's so much debate about it.
It's understandable.
Some users, like Snarsaline, seem to think it could simplify things, whereas other users, like Broadford Bay, are worried it will hurt profitability.
Right. And the situation is complex, so different perspectives make sense.
Okay.
Under their existing PSC.
Yeah.
GKP's profit is tied to the amount of oil they produce and the cost of production.
So if oil prices are high and their costs are low, they make a lot of money.
Exactly. They're incentivized to keep costs down.
But with the fixed $16 per barrel payment, their revenue is no longer tied to those costs.
Right. They're getting the same amount per barrel regardless.
So in theory, if their costs go up, their profit margin could shrink.
Exactly. And Broadford Bay's concern is that this fixed rate system might actually disincentivize them from investing in cost-saving measures.
Right.
Or even exploring new production opportunities.
Because their revenue is no longer tied to how efficient they are.
Exactly. They're not rewarded for efficiency in the same way.
I see. So it's not as simple as
It's not.
like a win-lose situation.
Right.
There's a lot of nuances here.
Absolutely. It's multifaceted.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now.
Good. We're glad.
Let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about the buyback program.
More buybacks.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation about why GKP isn't being more aggressive with their buybacks.
Right.
Especially given that the shares are considered undervalued.
Yeah. Rog the Gamer was really vocal about that.
Yeah, it seemed like they were a little frustrated.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
They just want the company to do more.
Right.
And that lack of information, it fuels speculation.
Right. And then Swell 2316 even suggested that the silence around buybacks might be a sign that GKP is gearing up for a merger or acquisition.
That's certainly possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to consider all the angles.
Okay, so let's break down the different interpretations of buybacks.
Okay.
Why are they causing such a stir in the GKP share chat?
Well, remember how we talked about some investors viewing buybacks as a positive signal?
Right?
It can increase the value of the remaining shares.
Yeah.
So if they believe their shares are undervalued,
Uh-huh.
buybacks would be a way to boost the share price.
Right.
But of course, there's a counterargument.
Okay.
Some investors see buybacks as a missed opportunity.
Oh, okay.
They argue that instead of using cash to buy back shares, GKP could be using that money to invest in growth, new oil fields, or even new technologies.
So it comes down to a question of capital allocation.
It does.
How is the company best using its resources
Exactly.
to create that long-term value for shareholders?
That's the key question.
And in GKP's case, it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding their strategy.
There is.
Their lack of communication is
Yeah.
adding to the mystery.
It can be frustrating.
It's like we're piecing together this puzzle,
Right.
but some of the pieces are still missing.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to consider multiple sources of information.
Right.
The share chat gives us investor sentiment,
Yeah.
but we also need to look at financial statements, industry reports, all of that.
This is getting really fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
I'm really enjoying this deep dive.
Me too.
Before we move on to part 3,
Yeah,
I want to make sure we're connecting all this back to our listener.
of course.
What are the key takeaways from our discussion on buybacks?
I think first and foremost, it's important to understand there are multiple interpretations of buyback programs.
Right.
Some see them as positive, others see them as a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
There's no right answer.
Okay.
And in GKP's case, The lack of clarity is creating a lot of speculation.
So do your own research.
Absolutely.
Consider all the factors.
Yes.
Don't just rely on the chatter.
Don't just rely on the share chat.
Stay tuned for part 3,
Okay.
where we're going to explore some of the individual comments that stood out to us.
More individual comments. I like it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the GKP share chat. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have PSCs, buybacks, geopolitics.
Yeah, but I always find it fascinating about these deep dives is that we get to go beyond.
Yeah.
You know, the numbers, the headline. Yeah.
And we hear the voices
A voice.
of individual investors.
Yeah, and that's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's like we're peeking behind the curtain a little bit,
Exactly.
and we're seeing that human side of the market.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into some of the more memorable comments that really caught our eye.
All right.
One that made me laugh out loud was from Unwin.
Unwin, yeah.
They called someone on the forum a human contraceptive.
Wow, that's brutal.
It is a little harsh.
But it's funny.
It's funny, but I think it does highlight
Yeah.
just how passionate some of these investors are about GKP.
They really believe in the company.
They really believe.
They want to see it succeed.
And they get frustrated when others don't share their optimism.
It's understandable.
It's a good reminder that these online forums can be a breeding ground for,
Yeah.
strong opinions.
Strong opinions, heated debates, you name it.
Heated debates, yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of strong opinions,
Okay.
Stray Cat provided a little bit of comic relief.
Stray Cat, love it. With their response to a question about GKP's buyback strategy.
Oh, really?
They said, "All I can offer is a very small reveal. According to my partner, I think she secretly hates me. Sex isn't all it's cracked up to be, apparently, but then again, she is butt ugly."
That's Stray Cat for you.
Not exactly helpful investment advice,
Not really, no.
but it was funny.
It's hilarious, though.
It makes you wonder what was going on in Stray Cat's life that day.
Yeah, maybe they were just trying to lighten the mood a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Or distract from the seriousness of the topic.
Right.
Who knows?
Whatever the reason, it's a good reminder that even in the world of finance,
Right.
people are still people.
They are.
They got their quirks, they got their sense of humor.
Their own personal lives.
And yeah, their personal lives that sometimes spill over into these online forums.
Yeah, it makes it more relatable.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway is GKP is at a crossroads. There are a lot of factors at play right now that could really impact their future performance.
Right. We talked about the potential changes to their operating agreement,
Uh-huh.
uncertainty around the buyback strategy,
The buyback.
and the looming geopolitical risks.
Yeah, a lot on the table.
It's impossible to say for sure how these things will play out.
That's true.
But what we can do is look at the information, analyze the perspectives,
Right?
and make informed decisions.
Informed decisions, that's key.
The share chat provides a window into investor sentiment, but it's only one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
We need to look at the financials, the industry trends, and the broader geopolitical landscape.
All of it, yes.
Most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, good point.
Challenge those assumptions.
Form your own opinions.
That's what these deep dives are all about.
Right, critical thinking.
Yeah, helping our listeners become more informed investors.
That's the goal.
If you ever find yourself overwhelmed by all the data and the analysis,
It can be overwhelming. Just remember Stray Cat and their partner.
Stray Cat, good old Stray Cat.
Yeah, sometimes a little bit of humor
Yeah.
is all you need to put things in perspective.
Well said.
Until next time, happy researching.
Happy researching, everyone.